With all of the comings and goings of the ICAC in the last few weeks, I thought I'd be very brave and choose a word that we don't often use in speeches, but if we have a speech and you could actually have this word in it, it's such an evocative word, and if used properly would makes people sit up and take notice. So I think the word corrupt is a wonderful word if you can think about and having it in your speech. Now it's interesting, it's a much broader term than you might think. It comes from the archaic Latin, from Latin, meaning to break. And Webster gives it several meanings. One is to change from good to bad in morals, manners or actions, and also to degrade with unsound principles or moral values. Its more archaic use is to taint, to rot, to spoil, to make putrid and to decompose. And the other meaning, which is used more in IT, is to alter from the original or correct from an old version. And I think those in IT are familiar with that word. Some examples are a politician was corrupted by greed. That's what Webster says. Music that corrupts the morals of children, corruption in the legal system, being corrupted by the influence of power, or having a computer file that no longer works because it is corrupted. So today's word of the day, either an adjective or a verb, is corrupt. I'd now like to, Crystal, if you'd like to commence the round robin and use the word corrupt. Ken Bullock from, formerly of this department, currently retired. The example I was going to give was my very early days in IT. The very first project I ever had, which was huge, was to take a file of 2 million land property records from the Valuer General and load it into my new system. And it took me ages for negotiations to get this data out. And as I was loading it in, there were errors galore in the data itself, and there was something wrong in the transmission and so on and so forth. And it was a really tough job. So at the management meeting, I got up and I made my presentation with the Valuer General sitting there and the departmental head, and I said, well, to summarise this, basically the data that I received was corrupt. And there was a silence in the room, and my manager sort of said, come and see me later, and he says, don't ever use that word again in a management meeting.
Thank you, Ken. Ken, what do you currently collect? What have you collected in the past? And if you could collect anything else, what would it be?
What a good question. What am I currently collecting? I'm currently collecting, if it meets this criteria, my family history. So I'm collecting a lot of information about the mystery that is my father's paternal side, about which my brothers and I knew absolutely nothing. So in fact, after the meeting today, I'm on my way up to the Land Titles Office to see where my great-grandfather did actually live in Botany. So I'm collecting a lot of information, most of it online. This is my first time going offline. What did I collect in the past? Look, I used to collect when I was young toy soldiers, little plastic toy soldiers. I had the works. I had Germans and Allied troops, I had cowboys and Indians, I had Confederate and Union soldiers. I built myself a little fort of masonite when I was a kid, and my friend down the road, he used to bring his, and we used to spend the afternoon shooting each other's toys, basically. And what would I like to collect, really, in the future? That's interesting, isn't it? What would I like to collect? I'm not a great collector of items, but I suppose if I really put my mind to it, I think some, you know, James Bond has these cars, the Aston Martins, and then there's the Mercedes. I would actually like one of these big garages full of these rare cars if I could afford it. I wouldn't drive them, goodness, you wouldn't drive them, but I would just go in there, admire them, polish them, sit in them, and just, yeah, I think that'd be a great collectible one.
Thank you, Ken.
A couple of things. No one mentioned the word corrupt during the day, including myself.
I did. Twice.
I missed Mark. Oh, sorry, Mark. I wasn't counting that.
Crystal also mentioned corrupt.
Well, thank you very much for doing that. See, it's timing's the problem, and because of the difficulty, I actually delegated ums and ahs counters to Michael, who will now give you the results of ums and ahs.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mike. So I'll call on Ken Bullock now to give us the timers report.
Very quickly, in the word power, I forgot to mention there's a 30-second time limit. So interestingly, most people went over like 45 seconds to a minute, but I think at that stage we had time, so that was all right. Mark's speech was 1 minute, 8 minutes 10. So
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, that's right, because I forgot my lines are quite
a minute over. And the other significant things are, in the table topics, they were really good. They were a minute maximum, and they varied between 1 minute. Crystal, who I noticed was looking at the timer, and as soon as it came red, she finished off, which was great. And Peter, 1 minute 15. So really, time-wise, that was excellent, because we can often drift off. Shadappa, likewise, evaluation 4 minutes, spot on, and sat down, and general business that went over.
Thank you, Ken.